Bust it.
Hello and thanks for staying with us. Welcome to Political Platform. My name is Ait Political. The Senate, the upper legislative chamber, has passed and approved the 189 billion supplementary budget for INEC for the conduct of the 2019 general election. Good news from the surface, but if you go behind the surface, you see a problem, a potential problem cropping up between the executive and the legislature. Recall that when President Muhammad Buhari sent in a request for approval for the supplementary budget, he asked that the money be sourced from the constituency projects fund contained in the 2018 budget. If you know constituency projects in the National Assembly, lawmakers always make room and create room for some projects in their constituencies which will be funded within the budget. But the president asked them to get the money for the election out of the constituency project. We knew the National Assembly would not accede to that request. What they did yesterday was to suggest or indicate that the money would come from the service-wide vote under the control of the president, the SGF in the executive, over 1 trillion in that amount, some of it meant for some social intervention fund. The lawmakers said, yes, we are approving from the money for INEC, but go get it from there. So let's wait for the executive to respond and see whether they will accept what the National Assembly has proposed and or has decided, not proposal this time, has decided, and indeed whether it will just say, let's go on, time is no longer on our side. But there was a court judgment, very significant, maybe not the end of it, or the matter may get to the appeal court and eventually to the Apex Court, Supreme Court. Executive Order number 6. That order was proclaimed by the president, where he charged those responsible for exercising certain judicial responsibilities in Nigeria, especially the Attorney General, the Federation, and Minister of Justice, that any suspected corrupt persons, the property should be seized and held as kept aside in abeyance till the outcome of that judgment is over. But so many people questioned it, saying it is an illegality. 2 lawyers went to court, and judgment came yesterday from a federal high court, and it says that order was genuine and was right. It did not violate any laws of our land, especially the principles of the separation of powers. Now, the big incident or development that took place yesterday in Abeokuta, Ogun State. I've been to that house. It's in Abeokuta South. It is home to former President Olusegun Obasanjo. He has another house, his farmhouse in Ota, but he rarely visits Ota farmhouse, unlike when he was president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In a month, he would likely be in Ota for 2 weekends. But this time around, he's staying more in his Abeokuta South residence. That place is a maker of some sort. Those that want to get appointment into sensitive offices up to today, those that want to contest for political offices, do go there to worship. It's been like that for a long time. We told you earlier this week on this program how the endorsement of 4 retired generals is always necessary if you must win presidential election. In 2014, 2015, Muhammad Buhari went to worship there. He went alongside. When I say worship, you should know what I mean. To consult with the strong man of Nigeria's politics. He went with a delegation of APC stalwarts. And this time around, it was Atiku Abubakar, accompanied by even religious leaders, Ahmed Gumi, that very popular Islamic cleric, David Oyedepo of Living Faith Church, and Bishop Matthew Kuka, the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Archdiocese. We see that they helped to put pressure on the former President Obasanjo to really forgive Atiku Abubakar. And someone asked me just before we came into the studio here, was there a confession from Atiku before the forgiveness came? These are the pertinent issues. But Aya Adebanjo led the delegation of the Afenifere, the Pan-Yoruba Socio-Cultural Organization, to visit Olusegun Obasanjo, where he endorsed Atiku Abubakar as the next president of Nigeria. He said he's better than Muhammad Buhari in terms of economic management, but he promised he will be helping to gather local and international support for Atiku to actualize his mandate. My colleagues are here with me in the studio. Joe, welcome to the program. You don't like the word worship, you prefer consult?
I prefer consult, okay, because worship belongs only to God. It's a significant thing considering the bad blood that had run between the former president and his former vice for years. I recall that over the years, former Vice President Atiku, now the presidential candidate of the PDP, had tried to make amends, and Baba OBJ simply said, "No way, I find it difficult to forgive you." So probably it was quite significant that he had to go with clerics, talking about a man who means business. That's the way I see it. It's like whatever it will take, I'll give it. That's what
does it suggest that the clerics are now rooting for Atiku Abubakar, or they just went to do the expedite action on the process of reconciliation?
I cannot say that they are rooting for Atiku Abubakar. They are clerics, they are servants of God. They are simply carrying out the assignment given to them by God, which is to make peace, between men and with all men, and
with God.
And with God. So I think that they must have, God must have used them to mellow the heart of former President OBJ, and
who had earlier said God will not forgive him if he forgives
Atiku. So, but again, you notice that he didn't lose his usual touch when he said that he knows Atiku must have repented, he was contrite now and all of that before he finally, if you look through the speech. So it's a good development, because I see that every man who has aspiration, every man who is empowered by the Constitution of Nigeria to aspire to a position has the right to do so, and he has just given Atiku maybe the much needed endorsement for him to carry out his desire, his aspiration as the candidate of the PDP. So the field is open for him now. If that's the way he felt, the field would be open. I mean, considering he needed the endorsement of the generals, like you said. So it's a good one. He's free. President Buhari is also free
to visit the Abeokuta house.
Exactly.
Mustafa Mohammed is also with us in the studio.
Ameti, thank you. I think we need to call a spade a spade. You need to ask yourself, who is Sheikh Gumi, the son of former late Sheikh Abubakar Gumi of blessed memory. He was a medical doctor. He's a medical doctor, a retired military officer, an agent of the retired generals who want to put Atiku Abubakar there. So if he is there for the sake of reconciling Atiku with Obasanjo, politically, you know how significant this is.
Now, Mustafa Mohammed, these three clerics, they have been critical of President Muhammad.
I'm coming to that. I met you.
Starting from Matthew Kuka, David Oyedepo, and Ahmed Gumi.
Especially Sheikh Gumi. He actually became, an anti-Buhari preacher, which he has his rights to do. He believed that there are so many wrong things going on, and the president,
even as a cleric, who should start aside politics.
Who told you clerics cannot join politics? Obasanjo is a pastor. Is he not? Matthew Kuka can be elected to become the president of Nigeria. So when you see this trio who don't believe that Buhari is good enough to rule this country, and they are there in the name of reconciliation in court. You have seen the pictures all over the social media and newspapers this morning. Then you can interpret to mean that they belong to the other bloc. But like I said earlier, some people were not very happy. But when you are doing this program, you are not doing that to make everybody happy. You have to say it the way it is. The truth of the matter is the emergence of the Wazirin Adamawa Atiku Abubakar has changed the scale. Then for 2019, so many people are considering where to belong to for the next general election. There is massive defection everywhere, but I can't tell you, I will not tell you from where to where. But 2019 election, Amechi and Akwe, 2019 election is going to be different from most of the elections we have
seen in recent
we have seen in then the imposition of candidates in one of the parties across has caused a lot of problems for that party. People are leaving the party. Some are staying within, are doing anti-party. The leaders of some of these parties didn't have a foresight.
Okay, the social media was awash with pictures and tests of what transpired yesterday. PDP sympathizers were celebrating it, sharing the pictures at will, but some reaction came from the presidency. The presidential spokesperson Femi Adesina says the more they come, the harder they fall, that they will all lose together come 2019. That is a gang up of some former leaders, that the people are still with the president. Shola Jaisini, welcome to Political Platform.
Amechi, I'll come in from the perspective of the meeting in Abeokuta between former President Obasanjo and presidential candidate of the PDP, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Well, the politicians and the elders who have had rulings and have led these people, the people of this country, one way or the other, will continue to have their meetings. But I believe that these coming elections, the Nigerian people, the over 80 million of them who have registered as permanent as voters and who have permanent voters cards, will be able to make decisions on what should happen in this country. You mentioned that there are 4 generals since the First Republic. It's about time Nigerians take their destiny in their hands. You have a voter's card. Let the political parties do their meetings, nocturnal, meet, scheme, and all that. But you and I and every Nigerian...
That will be a revolution.
Clearly, they make the decisions...
A coup against the ruling class.
Clearly, a decision by Nigerians on who they want to rule them. The politicians to keep talking. Now, talking still about politics, let's zero in on the state, Ekiti. Yesterday, I saw something that made me laugh, and a couple of other analysts also shared with us. And they said, is it now that those lawmakers are waking up to say we are removing a key loyalist of the governor? They had acted as pawns. That's what many have said. All this while, then 3 days to the handover, they say they are removing somebody. Well, politicians will always be politicians. And when I saw that man who has now been elected as, without meeting a quorum, as the Speaker of the Executive Assembly, reading from a text and wumbling through, I said, God will help us in this country. Lastly, before you hang up and get our colleagues to come and read the mails in, those who are in the media profession are under scrutiny as we speak. The Vice President of this country served it back in the court of media practitioners. And for those who are, at the moment at the higher level of editorial clearance, editors in Asaba yesterday, and he said, look, if you don't do what you need to do as journalists, people who the constitution of this country respect very much and give you a responsibility to ensure that as the fourth estate of the realm, as he said, do your gatekeeping, we journalists will become an endangered species. And the fact is that the cleavages and the partisanship that many are seeing and telling those who are journalists that you are involved in partisanship, it will bounce back if we're not careful. Journalists must do what they need to do. Get the facts of the matter, be impartial, be objective, but let the truth of everything come to the fore
always prevail.
But of course, that's what the ethics of the profession, is all about. Amechi, talking about what transpired at the National Assembly, couldn't you liken it to what they call back to sender? He wanted them to take money from the constituency project.
From our own side, but he said, no, you take it from yours.
Side,
I'm anxiously waiting for the response of the executive. Of course, the visit yesterday dominated newspaper headlines this morning. What will an Obasanjo endorsement bring into a campaign organization? I was in that place in 2003 and 2007 to cover the presidential election where Obasanjo, 2003 when Obasanjo was a candidate, and 2007 when late Musa Yar'Adua was a candidate. And I can tell you, Obasanjo's party, the PDP, lost woefully in that very ward opposite his residence. But what will an Obasanjo bring, apart from winning votes at polling units? He made mention of it yesterday. He's advised Atiku, and he will help to secure local and international. The emphasis is on international support for him. Obasanjo is very smart and very good at doing it, forming a coalition locally and internationally to support a particular candidate. And whether you like it or not, those support help to a large extent in determining the outcome of an election. But like Sholaja Smith said, the supreme power rests with the people. Can the people really exercise their franchise without being influenced or teleguided? That's the big question. We'll have someone who will be analyzing politics of endorsements for us. Obunike Ohebu, a former commissioner with the Public Complaints Commission, is already in the studio very soon. He will be bringing him in to give us more analysis on the politics of endorsement. But before then, let's get to hear your mails.
Hello and welcome to the mail segment. I'm Usaiti Yari.
And I'm Amaka Okoro. Welcome.
We begin with reactions to the Obasanjo's endorsement of Atiku. Patrick Okponya in Abuja says, the meeting between some notable men of God, the flag bearer of PDP and former President Obasanjo, that led to the forgiveness of all sins committed by Atiku is a welcome development and a step in the right direction. I am particularly happy because when you see men of God getting involved in the affairs of a nation to chart the way forward, then you know the Spirit of God is about to move. I want to assure Obasanjo that God in His infinite mercy will forgive him for forgiving Atiku. I urge Baba to do the needful as usual in order to effect the needed change in Nigeria. God help my country.
And Intia from Songwater in Ogun State writes on the same matter and says, the meeting of Obasanjo and Atiku really shows that truly there is no permanent enemy or friend in politics. Also, it points to the fact that as Nigerians, it is our obligation to unite and take Nigeria to the path of progress and developmental structures. Therefore, APC and Buhari campaign organization should not remind us of the past or try to criticize the move or see it as a non-event because they were once beneficiaries of same in 2014. The present state of Nigeria's economy and debt profile is worse than what we had in the past, and this should be our collective concern. We need a president and government that will bring solutions to issues and not the one that will dwell on blame games. Nigeria deserves better.
That's it on the mail segment. Continue to write to us through political platform at raypower.fm.
Thank you so much for the mails, APC, and the freedom given to its chairman to really ensure that everything is normal in terms of choice of candidates. Mustafa is one that is still attractive.
In fact, the APC in FCT is still boiling. Primaries have been held. They said the results. They allege that the results have not been alleged that some people who have powers and wanted to manipulate the results of the primaries refused to release it. And then the voters, the APC members in the FCT have been having various meetings, even making representation to their council chairman. And of course, the council chairman, some of them are saying that they are the biggest assets of the APC in the FCT. If anybody makes a mistake of replacing the candidate that people voted for, that they cannot control the anger of their followers, their members, who might choose to vote for the opposition party's candidate. I hope they are listening. Then a quick message that somebody also sent to us now, saying that we failed to mention that those clerics who went to reconcile Atiku with Obasanjo have hundreds of thousands of followers in Nigeria, that we ignore to mention that. But I think everybody who knows these clerics knew that these people have massive followers.
Okay, let's bring in our guest analyst for today. Obunike Ohebu is a former commissioner of Public Complaints Commission and a PDP stalwart. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Politics of endorsements, how important, how crucial and critical is the endorsement of Obasanjo for any person hoping to become Nigeria's president?
Amachi, if you have actually followed American politics, you will agree with me that in the build-up to every presidential election, that there is this rush for endorsements, especially from the superdelegates. Coming back to Nigeria, Obasanjo is a registered voter, and if he has publicly declared support for a particular candidate, I'm sure you know the implication. And
no, I don't know the implication.
The implication is that there are people who are neutral in whatever that is going on, and considering the fact that we know what is between Obasanjo and Atiku, They are not best of friends. But at this critical moment, you see that Obasanjo has looked at the options available to Nigeria, and he has agreed with the PDP delegates that the best option for now is Atiku. And because of the love, not because of his person. For his person, probably he wouldn't have endorsed Atiku. But because of his love for Nigeria, he felt that at this point,
now,
the options
you talked about the influence the endorsement would indeed bear on the voters. And I said earlier on this program that Obasanjo lost his polling unit as a presidential candidate in 1999 and 2003.
And he went ahead to become president. If I forgot to add that, let me tell you, I think what the analysis is actually being restricted to what happened, what Obasanjo said. There is something I took out of that, the pictures I saw yesterday. As a Catholic, few days before the burial of the Reverend Fathers that were killed in Benue State, I knew that the Catholic Church would not be silent towards the presidential election. And the appearance of Kuka there, I'm sure, was not by accident. I'm sure as a Catholic bishop, I'm sure as a Catholic bishop, he wouldn't have been there without the approval of the Nigerian Catholic bishops. I'm sure of that. I can tell you that for free as a Catholic knight. That apart, Oyedepo, I'm sure, knew the implication of what he did by appearing there. The message he could send across. The Muslim guy that was there, the cleric, knew the implication of his appearance there. And before now, they've been critical about this present government.
How will it be in our polity if religious leaders begin to endorse candidates and begin to be seen with candidates? Well, how will it improve our democracy?
As one of you said earlier, they were there to make peace. But obviously, we knew their stand before that. And as religious leaders, for instance, Kuka as a Catholic bishop, I'm sure as a human he's not happy the number of Reverend Fathers the Catholic Church have buried because of crisis. I'm sure he's not happy because of the number of Catholics they have buried because of the crisis we have in Nigeria. And they cannot continue to sit back and watch what is going on. And on Obasanjo's own, Obasanjo has always emphasized on the economy. As a matter of fact, as a lawyer, let me give you an example. As a lawyer, there are lawyers who find it difficult to go and look for office, pay for office, and they employ other lawyers. They prefer to stay where they will earn salary. There are lawyers who have moved out of their way to even pay for duplex when they did not even have money to even start.
There are charge and bill lawyers.
Well, I don't understand what you mean by that. So what I'm saying, if you have been to Adamawa, I've been privileged to be to Adamawa. I've gone around the Atiku investments. I would like to believe that he has.
But moving forward, the place of the people in all this. Yes, you have the godfathers, you have the kingmakers, but the people with the PVCs, 81 or more than million registered Nigerians are the ones whose votes will count at the end.
Unless you believe that the issues I've just raised are not the concerns of the people, the issues of crisis, people being killed, people being murdered on daily basis, that the voters are not concerned. The economy, I wanted to make a mention of the economy. Unless you believe that the masses are not concerned about the economy, unless you believe that the masses do not want somebody, a president who will create jobs, unless you believe that the masses do not want a president who will open up the economy for people to come and invest, unless you don't want the president that could encourage investors to come in, unless you prefer a president that will always fly out for his children's education and for his medical checkup, to a president who has invested a lot in a school in Nigeria. If you believe that the masses will not be concerned about that, then I will agree with you that the masses may not be concerned about the endorsement, but I think the masses are really concerned, and the options they have. You don't talk about election without the options.
All right, as a Nigerian who's been watching the events that have been unfolding in the polity, would you really say with confidence that the people with the PVC are the ones who will determine the elections in 2019 in the light of the Edo elections, the Edo governorship election, the Ekiti governorship election, and more recently the Osun governorship election? Would you say that the confidence of the people is still there at this time?
There's something we say in our place that two people need to be almost of the same height before you start talking about who is going to be taller or who is taller. I believe that the voters, that Nigerians will be overwhelmed by what will happen. No amount of anything that will affect the outcome of the 2019 election. You take that to the bank. You can quote me next time.
Very interesting. Is now Obasanjo a member of the PDP? Is he a member of the PDP now?
The last time he tore his card, but he has always said that he's concerned about Nigerian economy and wherever the person is going to come from. Even a few months back, he was talking about thought force. But he has,
do you think he has abandoned that thought force movement? I thought of it. I said,
he told us the reason for that movement. He told us the reason why he needed the thought force. We need somebody,
because he said it's not APC. Is not PDP, the solution will not come from them, but from a new generation. By endorsing Atiku Abubakar, has he also lost faith in the emergence of something new away from these mainstream parties?
I'm sure almost all the political parties have come up with their candidates, and I'm sure Obasanjo is a realistic person, and I'm sure he has been consistent that what he wants is somebody who can take care of the economy. And looking at the candidates we have,
no, you don't go there. Just leave it there. Obasanjo, maybe we'll hear from him much later, Uju, on whether indeed he has abandoned his coalition for New Nigeria. They've moved into a political party. Some persons have picked up tickets to contest. Has he abandoned them for?
Apparently, he expected an immediate result from what he said. He could still be on that, but at this point, look at the solution. I don't think he has abandoned that.
Maybe we'll see whether
it should be a long time. It should be a long time
membership card.
Oh well,
he doesn't have to be a member of PDP to support PDP.
That's his decision to make, and then again, you look at it, Amechi. In reality, from what we've seen so far, the younger ones have every opportunity they need now. They have all come out to campaign, even notable ones, brilliant ones among them. But I think that there's one great point that they missed in coming up with candidates. The inability to form a formidable coalition and to be able to pick a consensus candidate. That's
the much we can do on today's edition of Political Platform. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back again on Monday. We'll have to thank Obunike Ohebu for providing the analysis. Have a wonderful weekend.